Welcome to the show. I'm your host, David Andrew Wiebe. This is episode 40 of DAWCast. And yes, that's right. It's no longer David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast. I felt that DAWCast was maybe a little bit easier to remember and perhaps a little bit easier to bring up in conversation. So it's a lot harder to say, yes, I've been listening to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast lately than it is to say, I've been listening to DAWCast. Now, it's great that the former name had some keywords in it. Obviously, DAWCast really doesn't, I guess, for those who are, recording and have home studios and project studios and so forth. They're still going to pick up on the DAW, and yeah, there is some relevant content as far as that's concerned, but this is primarily been a music marketing podcast, of course. And recently we're kind of venturing out into what I call music entrepreneurship. And some of you are probably wondering what exactly music entrepreneurship is. And in all honesty, it's still something that I'm working on defining. And I think it's something that we're going to talk about in a little more detail in coming episodes. I guess the short version is just that musicians need to learn to kind of run their own business and get better at managing their funds. Anyway, for this episode, I interviewed Christopher Knab from FourFront Media and Music, as well as Music Biz Academy. I think Chris provides a perspective that's perhaps a little bit different than guests we've had in the past. Obviously, early on we were talking to a lot of musicians, and then we got into a little bit of the music marketing space, a little bit of the home recording space, a little bit of the creative professional space. And Chris is someone who used to do radio promotion and then eventually got into writing articles and doing workshops and things of that nature. Well, I think anybody over 25 probably remembers some of the transitions the music industry went through in the late 90s and early 2000s with Napster, with digital downloads, with peer-to-peer file sharing, and so forth. Well, Chris predates even that, and so he brings a much broader perspective to what's going on in the music industry, and I think it's great. So let's jump into my interview with Christopher Knab, and I'll meet you back at the closing segment. If you have any questions or comments regarding this podcast, send an email to comments@daw-music.com.
I first became aware of you because of some of the articles you wrote for Music Biz Academy. I was doing some searches on guerrilla marketing, and so we'll touch on that a little bit later. But first, why don't you begin by telling us who you are and what it is that you do?
Well, I'm Chris Knab, and I live in Seattle, Washington. And for the last 20-odd years, I've been what is known as a music business consultant for independent artists, labels, etc. Kind of prior to that, I taught at the Art Institute of Seattle here, doing classes on the music business. They used to have a program there called the Music Business Program, and that lasted from about 88 to 2000. And so I taught every class you can, and just going back in time. Before that, I was managing what you may know as KEXP 90.3 FM. I managed that during the from 85 to 94, something like that. And that's an alternative music station here in Seattle. And so I did that, and before that was San Francisco years, and I had a record label there, part of eventually Columbia. And I had a record store, did radio shows, and pretty much I was just roughly say it was around 1989 or 90 where I suddenly had this what I call a picture of the structure of the music business that I thought would be very helpful for people to understand, because I had seen the music industry from different perspectives, and everybody has a different perspective on it depending what you do for a living, right?
Yeah.
So I figured I had this, what I consider kind of an unusual job of being in different places, different responsibilities, and seeing the industry from like wearing a whole bunch of different caps. So I've taken that observation, and then over the last, especially 20 years, I've written a book called Music is Your Business with a entertainment law attorney named Bart Day. And we've done now the 4th edition is just out, and we keep on putting it out because people like it. And as you can imagine, let's see, the last edition was 07. The difference between 07 today and today is like 100 years. You know, I mean, can you believe there was no Twitter in 2007? You know, so things have changed with social networking and all that. So we had to update the book and get it more, you know, contemporary. But my main thing that I love the most is I teach, do my own workshops, seminars, and I put on classes for people. And that's what I love doing most, is helping musicians understand what they have to do to create some tips.
How do you find the transition from teaching and being part of radio and then transitioning into becoming kind of a writer and content marketer?
Well, to me it was I'll have to go back again a little bit. I'd had a preview of Radioland, so to speak, in San Francisco. I'd been invited to host and co-host a show that presented alternative music of the late 70s and 80s, and from like the Sex Pistols forwards, let's call it. And so I already was getting training on being on the air, and for me it was very interesting to see that at the same time I was owning a record store. And whenever I would go on the air and I would read out the latest releases, lo and behold, the next day there'll be lines around, you know, the corner from my store wanting to buy everything I played on the show. And so, you know, a big bulb went off in my young head at that time. Gee, what goes on the radio, when people like it, they go out and buy it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a big jump from me to go from, you know, that to being invited to teach a more authentic college course. Because in a way I'd sort of been doing that anyway with being on panels and workshops and the radio show itself that I mentioned. It was just sort of a natural segue. And I remember driving home from the Art Institute one day after my first official class. And I thought, you know what, Chris, all these years you've had with retail experience and now a record label behind you and knowing radio and all that, you should really write a book because you have a lot of experience that people haven't had that may help them with their music. So I think what you're asking me is that segue. It was a very easy segue. You know?
That's good. Why don't you tell us about FourFront Media Music?
Well, that was the offspring of that idea around after I started teaching. That to lack of a better phrase, if you ask any musician who is relatively new and starting out, what is the music business like? What does the music industry look like? And I always felt that no one knew that there was an actual structure that the industry has. It looks like something, just like a building has a frame around it. Exactly. There's a frame around the music business, so to speak. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so I call them the four fronts. I noticed that in promoting records, my own or, you know, with Columbia or whatever it was, that there was a strange phenomenon that when people were promoting a record, they used war terms. You know, like, what's your radio campaign for this? You know, we're attacking the young demographic of 18 to 25, and on and on. And I went, that's strange. You know, here it is, beautiful music, great music, and the industry is using war terms to, like, try to combat, as they would say, the opposition, the competition. And so I used the word forefront because the word front is what they do during a war. You know, the Eastern Front, whatever front, you send your troops to that place to fight the war. So I understood that I could describe that structure to people in such a way that there's four main things people have to do. And those things, you can call them what I call them fronts, or you can call them four wheels, four spokes. But there are four central things that every record label, from the dawn of the 78 to the LP, to CDs, and now to digital streaming and downloading, that whatever you got to find a way to promote it. And there's four things you got to do to market and promote a record. And so, my whole philosophy and the whole book is aimed on explaining each of those areas and then putting together, if it's a client, helping them put together a marketing campaign that covers all that. Now, having said that, as you know, somewhere around the late 90s, this thing called the internet pops up. And in a way, I was thinking, this is really great. It's going to be helping musicians. But then I thought, well, the flip side is the musicians who are independent in the analog sense are now going to have to learn digital tricks and get familiar with computers and on and on and on. And so there's really quite a bit more work. Now, if we go, from the, say, 2000 Napster days to the present, we both know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of websites out there. Information bloggers that are constantly giving information out, helping people. Yep. But still, it's like you, as a musician, have to decide who is your audience and what is more appropriate marketing for you. Is it traditional marketing in the old sense of the word, or is it more social networking? And is it more engaging your fans and finding out who they are and lifestyle marketing? And I think that's probably one of the biggest changes in the digital age for people. They have to kind of shift their thinking quite a bit.
So you touched on your book a little bit already, but why don't you tell us a little bit more of what we could expect if we were to delve into Music is Your Business?
I have a co-author, as I mentioned. His name is Bart Day. Yep. He's an attorney, an entertainment law attorney, which is a big distinction. He's down in Portland, Oregon. Here I am in Seattle, Washington. We've known each other for 20-odd years. And it's one of those things, and before you know it, you're agreeing to write a book with somebody. And that was the first edition, like 10, 12 years ago. And then another one, and then the third one, and finally edition in 2007 is old. Social networking did not exist in that book. So what you'll find in the book is two things in general. You're going to find the structure of the business that I briefly described and how it works and how a musician fits into that. They're also going to know, tactics, strategies that are going to work in the forefronts, which I haven't gone through yet with you. And on the legal side, believe me, there's a lawyer hiding behind somewhere all the time in the music industry. Yeah. So a book that is only going to talk about, promoting, marketing, distribution, publicity, etc., just complete to us. That there are so many things inside a recording contract. What is music publishing these days? It's expanded with more and more opera writers to make some money with their songs over the internet, through advertising, through sponsorships, of course, the old ways too, with film and television, etc. So the book takes a look, I always say, at both sides of the coin. There's the practical stuff of what needs to do every day in the four areas I mentioned, and then there's the legal side of things, How do you deal with all the legal stuff that's going to be coming your way?
Yeah. Are there any other projects, books or otherwise, that you're working on right now?
Just putting together, this is all fall, it's a really great time to put together workshops and seminars. Summer is, in case you ever wonder, is a lousy time to do workshops, especially if you're in the Northwest, because we don't have very long summers here. So it's just that time of year where I look forward. I just got off the phone today working out a deal for October 21st. And then, there'll be others after that and into the spring of next year as well. Yeah. Believe me, it takes a lot of time to teach those classes and prepare for them, just like it does to write a book and promote it and do readings, which I'm also doing.
It seems like a lot of businesses, kind of experience a little bit of a dip during the summer, so that's not too surprising, I guess.
Well, I guess if the smart musician would know that like 6 to 8 months ahead of all that summertime is when all the people are preparing to book the fairs and festivals in every city across the United States or Canada, right? Yeah. If you're waiting to do some live shows that, like I just mentioned, street fairs, for example, and you're waiting till June 1st, you're not going to get a gig. All of those things are planned months and months and months in advance.
Yeah.
We have, for example, a festival every year, Labor Day, called Bumper. Been around for decades. The 4-day music festival of music from local and across the country and around the world. And they start planning that the day after Labor Day. They start planning the next one a year in advance. So, it's just little tricks like that, the summertime is a bad time to do a workshop, but it's a really prime time. As a musician should be playing, a band should be out there playing, whether it's free, whether it's little money or just a gift or some free beer. The whole point of it is, that might startle some of your listeners, is that in this digital age that we're living in, it's much more important to tour, get to perform live now than it was 30, 40 years ago. And that's because there's been so much more competition, right? There were like, for most of the 70s and 80s, the industry as a whole, they put out maybe 15 to 20,000 albums a year, new albums, new releases we call them.
Yeah.
And now it's over 100,000. So, I'll go and talk to my program director I hired down at KEXP, who's still there, and one station that has a very wide open mind and is alternative oriented, gets over 1,000 getting CDs in 2013. 1,000 of them a week. Well, in the industry we call that clutter. Someone's got to go clear out the clutter. Where's the good stuff?
Yeah.
Who decides what the good stuff is? I'm sure you've encountered that problem yourself, where you go, "Oh my God, the mail just delivered more stuff."
Yeah.
That stuff, however, when we talk about it honestly, is the livelihood of a musician. Is heart and soul, hopefully, put into that music. And it's kind of a cruel world out there that, if you are a program director, if you're a reviewer, a blogger, anybody, a booker of shows or whatever, you're going to be getting tons and tons of stuff, and you get kind of jaded.
Yeah.
And so this kind of goes back a little bit to what you were talking about earlier in the book and what's in it and all that. It's just, I think it's like hugely valuable for any kind of artist who is a musician or singer or whatever to be able to be inside the mind of what we call gatekeepers, the decision makers. Who's going to book you? Those are called gatekeepers. Who's going to review you? Why should they? Why should they play you on a radio station, etc.? Why should they, write about you on a blog, do a podcast?
Yeah.
It's just, a musician has to give reasons, not reasons like, well, my music's really cool, man, it's really good. That is the worst answer you can, and I hope everybody who listens never ever says that phrase again.
Amen.
It's not about that, It's not about that. We presume it's good, or you wouldn't have spent the time and money making the damn record.
Right.
But no, they just keep pouring it out, and I'm not the only one who said it. 90% of the stuff that comes out, America, it doesn't even hear even that much of it. It hears maybe 1% of all the stuff that comes out, and there's a lot more. And so that brings, one subject always brings up another subject, and so if an artist or a band doesn't know who their audience is, what their genre of music is, and can speak in what we call the 30-second speech of like, hey, what kind of music do you make? And they'll stammer around, but they actually have a prepared 30-second elevator ride speech that they can give someone. That really helps people.
Yeah.
Because we're going through the clutter, and psychologically, we get a little jaded. We don't mean to. We do this because we love music. But after hearing, 17 songs in a row that you see, this is absolute garbage. It does get to be kind of tough to only praise stuff. You got to be critical as well as praising. and that's very hard to do.
Yeah, those are some good tips. Tell us about your connection with Music Biz Academy and the content that you've written for the site.
Well, the guy who runs Music Biz Academy, his name is David Nebu, N-E-V-U-E, and he's a solo pianist, instrumentalist. And we met up probably, I don't know, 11, 12 years ago, and I stumbled on Music Biz Academy. I had my own website, FourFrontMusic.com, and I started submitting stuff to his site, and then we started chatting, saying, we got the same mission. I want to educate musicians, and his thing was the internet, a young internet back in 2000, 2002, 2003, and he wanted to grow his own music, but he also wanted to grow this Music Biz Academy thing. So about 2006, I would guess, we kind of merged our sites to be into one site. In other words, I forwarded my address, FourFrontMusic.com, to him. He could put it up, and if you type in FourFrontMusic.com, you go directly to my homepage. You never know that I'm part of Music Biz Academy. We've sort of blended together over the years into one entity. So that came about mainly because of what I said. We had like interests, and there was so much information to share with people and musicians, do it better than one. So David's career as a solo pianist has taken off beyond expectation, and I'm going to be sort of forced this coming year with a decision. I might have to go with a loan, either with FourFront, because he's so successful as a musician. He made like 14, 15 CDs.
Yeah.
He tours constantly. And he's really telling me recently that hint, nudge, nudge, I don't have a lot of time for Music Biz Academy like I used to. So I'm taking that hint up to, I'll take it over. Because that's what I love to do. And I can't play the piano either. You wouldn't want me to play the piano.
That's great.
So that's how we connected on things. It was a like interest, just like a lot of people, meet somebody, So luck of the draw in a way.
What are your thoughts on the changing nature of the industry, and where do you think it's headed?
Changing part of the music industry to me, I try to put, like I said earlier, it would be wise to put themselves into the shoes of the people they have to do business with. Well, it's a reverse thing. I have to be a good author, consultant, workshop coordinator, whatever. I've got to be able to step into the shoes and what's it like to be a musician, because I am not one. I was a bad drummer back in the 70s or something, but good God, that was nonsense. So I have to, and do know musicians personally, personal lives, that they're just people like anybody else. They got bills to pay, and they may have kids to bring up and educate. And so I try to understand, like when I first meet a client, my first reaction is, okay, so show me what you've done. But I don't really think that's a fair question the more I think about it, because I don't know their circumstances. I don't know if they're working two jobs, one long 8, 9, 10-hour job. Do they have kids? Are they married or in a couple of situations? So when it comes down to it, most musicians have very little time to do the music.
Yeah.
And I have to constantly remind myself of that fact, because I get impatient with them. Just all day long, I have all these things that are cool to do, and why aren't you doing it in a scolding sort of way, but in a friendly way, too.
Yeah.
One of the nice things that's been happening ever since the Art Institute had this program on music business back in the 90s, early 2000s, or late 2000s, when they stopped that, I had already been teaching like for 15 years, and it's a quarterly thing, there'd be people graduating into the business, and it just happened, honest to God, like 4 days ago. Get a call from a guy. I was a student of yours, and I go, oh, wow, again, another one. and I'm still at it in the music business, and I like to meet up with you. Can we do a consultation? I got this cooking. And that's very gratifying, you know, that somebody that I hadn't seen, in this case, since 1997, was still at it.
Yeah.
Was he a big star? No, he wasn't a big star, but he was making a living. And in the meantime, he had gone around and done so many different jobs to gain experience. Some live sound gigs, working in the studio, sweeping the floors inside the studio to learn tricks, right? From producers and engineers, on and on. It was very impressive. And I don't think you ever stop learning. If you do, in this changing world you're talking about, you're going to be frozen in place. And if you do that, you're going to have the technology walk right all over you.
Some people do.
You mean that?
Yeah, it's true.
Have you had experience with that yourself? That you notice that?
Well, I used to work with some musicians, and we were in a group together that was just kind of a loose collaboration between, I guess, 4 singer-songwriters. And, I was actively always reading, listening to podcasts, just plugging into what's out there so I could continue to grow and learn and stretch myself, which is really what it does. I think when you consume that much material, you just get way out of your comfort zone. So, one of the girls piped up, one of the girls in the group piped up, and she's like, I don't think you need to do that stuff. I don't think you learn anything from it. Life will just teach you the lessons that you need to know, and that's all you need to know.
Well, that might be it. I have an interesting conversation with her. What kind of response did you have, can I ask, to her statement?
Well, I wasn't terribly outspoken at the time. I probably just brushed it off, but I definitely did not, just agree with her. I wasn't about to stop my personal growth and music career journey because of what she said,
There's so much, I don't know, so much wants to come out of my mouth at the same time about that statement.
Yeah.
It's, to put it in a nutshell, I guess, is what you don't take time to know about the business will come back and bite you.
Yeah.
It will definitely bite you. Just because now it's a technological world and technology, rules, that doesn't mean there's assholes out there that don't take advantage of people. And there are people in this city and in every city I've been in who just, what's the word? They thrive taking advantage of naivete, naive people. They spot it. They spot it. They can say, aha, there's a catch on the line. I can take them and exploit their music really easy, and they won't even notice it.
Yeah.
That's how clever a lot of these people are, There's a chapter in my book that talks about that kind of thing, where, things that come up that are beliefs, but they're not true. But, people believe certain things. They haven't investigated it, so they just adopt it as a truth. And, boy, you do that kind of stuff in an age of information, and you're asking for trouble. You're asking for exploitation, really.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on social media, and how necessary is it for musicians to utilize these tools?
I wish I had this cohort that I've done a workshop with a couple of months ago here in this area. Her name is Solvig, unusual name, Solveig, Solvig Whistle. I would call her old maven. It's astounding, not on social network, but how she implements it and just lives every day.
That's great.
So I'm trying to step into her shoes to answer that question a bit. Some people think social networking means Facebook and Twitter, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that's the extent of your whole campaign,
right.
Facebook and Twitter. Well, they are important, but there's others too. For the business side of things, LinkedIn is way overlooked because it connects you with other people who are in the business itself. And, it's still the business of who you know and who knows you. So let's say a business social network like LinkedIn is really built on that principle. let's say the old days back in the 50s, 60s or something, it was only about who do you know, can you get me a deal? Whereas today I find it's ironed out more. It's more who I know, but also who the person I know is in contact with. It's like, we're equally important to each other. Granted, the president of Universal Records has more clout and power than the president of the local Seattle record label or something. But, I'll steal a phrase from a guy named Tim Sweeney. And I don't know if Tim's still out there. He used to write books like I do. And I haven't heard from him for ages and ages, publishing-wise. But he had a phrase that he used for developing artists for the grunt work that's involved in like writing press releases, and whether they're digital EPKs, electronic press kits, or whether they're old-fashioned, putting together bookings for yourself, submitting stuff to bloggers. I mean, putting up posters if it's a live show. And he used to call all those things, those little individual tasks, that if you got a crowd at the show, just because of that effort you put into it, he called it a little victory. And if you got on the phone with a program director and you tried 4 times before to get them and you finally got them on the line, and they said, oh, yeah, I remember that record. I was just listening to that. Little victory. That stubborn club that take reason for giving you an opening shot. You finally convinced through your efforts, what you've done, that you can fill up that club at that hour. Little victory. And it's a wonderful, wonderful bit of way that Tim used, and I now stole from Tim. But I give him all the credit for it. Because I think a lot of musicians are very disappointed that the steps don't directly go from the television show The Voice or American Idol to stardom.
Yeah.
And they do not, Speaking of those types of shows, I personally think those kind of shows do more damage than all the independent work that's been done in the decades past.
Yeah.
When I first saw American Idol years ago debut, I went, oh, God, oh, no. This is going to be, today's version of a talent show.
Yeah.
And they're just going to fine-tune it, and they're going to get celebrities to make it all exciting and big strobe lights in Hollywood. And people buy it. People buy into that crap, which is what it is.
Yeah.
I've seen, regretfully, the contracts that people have to sign when they are permitted to or allowed in to do an audition. They have to sign first. And what they're signing is really they're giving their whole life away. If they have original materials, it's not theirs anymore. It belongs to the record company if they win the contest. Even if they're the 10th one and they go on a tour, as that happens, then all that music is owned by the label that got them signed, and they can't get out of that contract.
Yeah.
But you don't hear that. You don't hear that on the news.
Nope.
All you see is the entertainment itself and the exploitation, really. To me, it's one of the sadder sides of our culture, is to prey on these to put out the best music.
Yeah.
So you hit a nerve with that one, got a lot of patience.
Yeah, I've heard the same things about that. So how important is it for musicians to network and to build connections?
It's as important as it ever was. Meaning, there's conferences that you're aware of, I'm sure, like all over the country. There's probably 15 or 20 important ones, like from South by Southwest to the New Music Seminar.
That's right.
And the whole purpose of those conferences are education. Yeah, you get to meet people, you get to learn about certain, copyright law if you don't know about it, or you get to know about the contract negotiation, or what A&R people, the talent scouts in the industry, what they think of your song if you get a chance. They're valuable, but the rest of the day, the rest of the evening, the networking is getting out there and the old-fashioned word of schmoozing. Where you go out there and you have cards or, I advocate going to, places. We have a place up in Seattle with an electronics store called Fry's. And they have these little, 2 gigabyte flash drives, 2 to 4 gig, and they cost, on a sale day 99 cents, something like that. Well, I advise people who are trying to establish themselves to not worry so much getting paid for every damn cent that are owed early on, but to use that to spread around the value and the great music that you say you have. Put it on the flash drives, buy 10 or 12 of them, whatever you can afford, do your show, take them and then spread them and then just throw them out into the crowd. And I've seen it time and time again how people then pass it on to someone else and someone likes a certain tune and then there's a way back to your place on iTunes or on Spotify or wherever. So all those things there's never any one thing that all of us have to do. There's many different things based on our customer base. I guess I'd like to, there's time I'd like to give a good tip for people that is very valuable. Part of it is a quote from Tom Silverman. He used to, back in the 80s, be the first guy in New York that started selling the rap and hip-hop that was on the streets of New York at that period, Naughty by Nature, stuff like that. Well, Tom, over the decades, is a big shot. And he now still continues to put on the New Music Seminar every year. And he gave this amazing talk one time. And it started out by just saying this one sentence. And to me, it speaks volumes. He said, for the first 10 years, I thought I was in the record business. And then I realized I wasn't in the record business. I was in the lifestyle business. And, the more you think that, the more you say that over to yourself, you'll understand it deeper. One translation of it from Tom is for his life is, as they are today, any athlete comes out with a new shoe brand, for Nike or whoever, and they cost $300 some odd bucks or more. And he noticed that whenever there was a new shoe out for Michael Jordan at that time or whoever, that all of his sales at all of his stores in New York went down dramatically. And he said, wow. He said, well, I thought they loved rap and hip-hop stuff, Why are they not buying my records? And then he went into a shoe store and just observed. And there were his clients. He knew them from clubs he'd hang out with at night and stuff. They're giving him a high five and they're all doing this, but they're spending $300 or $400 on a pair of shoes, and he's lost sales because of that. So he could have said, well, the hell with it. There's, too much competition. I'm going to give it up. Well, he did not. He didn't do that. What he did, and this is brilliant fucking marketing, is he went to those shoe stores, independent shoe stores, put together a compilation of rap and hip-hop artists in New York. And he put them on consignment at the shoe store and asked them to put them on the counter. He sold 1 million copies in 1 year at a shoe store. That's lifestyle marketing. That's the beginning of the light going off, and the rest of the story, as they say, is another anecdote. A band I've worked with for years here in Seattle, now broken up, but it's still a great story. They came to me, and they had said for 7 years they had a really good habit, which it was. They had a videographer who videoed their show, so they could study it afterwards to see how they interacted with the audience and observe themselves and all that. And I said, how long have you been doing this now exactly? And they said, well, about 7 years. And I said, don't you think that's a bit narcissistic by now? how much can you just look at yourself? I think here's an idea. Why don't you ask your videographer to either come from the side of the stage or go up on the stage and photograph, videograph the fans, the diehard, hardcore fans that are in front, jumping up and down, going crazy.
Yeah.
And you watch and you ask yourself marketing questions. Like, how did they get to this gig? A Metro Transit transportation? Did they drive in a Volkswagen? Did they have a limousine? Where did they eat dinner? McDonald's? Or they go to a steakhouse? I look up those pants that they're wearing. Where do they buy those? Over at some expensive store, boutique, or do they go to Goodwill? And I asked them to keep track and write down the answers to that and tons of other marketing questions. And then I said, have them also, after they film the hardcore fans in the front, have them go to the people in the middle and see what their story is. And, they dress a little differently, and people in the back dress differently, they act differently, but you keep answering the questions because you're watching them response to the music. Do the people that live in the back have to go and have a beer? Do they go with the music? Do they demand a car? Interesting. So now you take that data with your band, you have a meeting, many of them, and you say, where else can we find our audience? Where do they live? What are their eating habits? What are their lifestyle habits? And again, you take this one tip and follow it everywhere, because it'll be the answer. Instead of sitting there and trying to be on American Idol, or try to, get on some top 40 station, which you're never ever going to be on as an independent artist. Do some real stuff. It's in the, it's that grunt work stuff that'll make you feel like the little victory might be won. One little thing after another, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a couple of tips and things I said in there that are, if put to use, are invaluable. So, if I'm plugging the book, then I say, well, you got to use the stuff that's in the book too, because we're only talking here for a few minutes.
That's right.
And there's a lot of ideas like that in the book,
So, music careers have been reduced to getting people to click on links. What are your thoughts on that statement?
Well, again, to me, you've always got to give people a reason to do a thing. What's the benefit? I can tell you, I presume you might be familiar with the guitarist Joe Bonamassa.
Yeah.
But he just crossed a fan after, 28 records out or something. And what he does, if you go to Joe Bonamassa's website.com and all that, he recently gave away a full-length, unreleased CD of music that had been live and never captured together under one CD. And he gave it away. And what did he say on the website? Click here onto this link. Sign up for my mailing list. When you do that, you're qualified for a free downloadable CD of my music. Well, now the fan has got a reason and a motivation, right?
Yeah.
A real motivation to go out and click, right?
Absolutely.
If you just say something in an email, we have a website, it's www.knab.com, whatever. Well, why should I go there? I'm a busy guy, you're a busy guy, everybody's a busy person. All I'm saying is people need reasons to do things.
Yeah.
You just can't, so many artists are, what I call suffering from premature egos. That they're not willing to humble themselves, right?
Yeah.
To do something like have a contest, give away something, click on this link here and you'll get to it and it can be yours. So don't start me talking, I'll tell you everything I know department on that topic. It's easy for people to click on something if they get something out of it.
Yeah.
If they don't get something out of it, they say goodbye. There's 1,000 other bands that came into the studio this week, and we'll go see what else is out there.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. If any of our listeners were interested in kind of beginning a career or kind of a part-time endeavor in, providing resources or teaching seminars, basically stuff that you do, like writing books, what advice would you have for them?
Well, talk about what you know about. Seriously, don't try to do a workshop or seminar on the business if you don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Or if you do, talk only from your successes. Just because I wrote this book in different editions and I write my columns all over the internet and stuff, that doesn't mean that I know everything. No one human being, even you, you and I don't know it all.
No.
So when I do a workshop or a seminar, I always bring someone along, like an attorney, or I brought that social networking woman with me to one. I bring someone who knows something I know a little bit about that they know more. So it's easy, if people want to do what you said and to put on educational workshops for musicians, they're really needed. Just think it out, saying, well, I could give some tips about recording and mastering or this and that, but as far as publicity and social networking, who do I know that I can bring in? And just look at it that way. And then when you do that, you're simultaneously networking anyway and expanding your connections when you do that. And it's not perceived as being, what's the word I'm looking for? But you're being overzealous or you're being stingy and stuff one way or another.
Right.
No. You're just trying to be helpful.
Live performance, music licensing, and video marketing seem to offer some of the more significant opportunities for musicians today. Do you see any other opportunities that musicians are typically missing?
Well, it's all going to be in the area of the internet and streaming. Downloading is starting to fade away, sadly. We're always moving on to another technology. Ever since Thomas Edison's days in the late 1800s, inventing the first recording device. Well, the only thing that's changed is the speed of time. It's like there was a 78 in the 1890s, and it lasted until Elvis Presley in the 50s. It lasted a half a century, one technology, the 78. So then you and I now think, well, what happened and what kind of formats or technologies are available since the 50s? It came the 45, and then it became vinyl, followed by the cassette, became the digital world, and that's a pretty long time too,
Yeah.
And they're not gone yet,
No.
I'll have something to say about that in a second. But it's just things are speeding up so much faster than they were in a slower era, So we have to keep up on all that stuff. Number one, we have to find a way to either be aware of it or be involved in that and see if it's a helpful attribute to have or a task that you can add to your skills. Well, the live performance I kind of already addressed. It's absolutely essential, And again, since I spent a lot of time with startup bands and new acts, you have to play, and when you're done playing, you keep on playing.
Right.
It's just you have to because of that. I'm going back repeatedly the purpose to this word clutter, which so much competition out there. You have no choice to stand out unless you're out there a lot. It doesn't mean you play the same city all the time, but if you're growing, go 20 to 30 miles from that city. And then as you go 40 to 50, then up to 100 miles. And you expand that ability to tour, And lo and behold, you do that. Here's where I'll stick in some news about the CD. Is you sell your CDs at your shows, you sell your merchandise at your shows. That's income,
Yeah.
And people forget about it, but it's a pretty damn important one, When it comes to licensing, there are, again, there's a catch-22. I have no qualm or question that there are more opportunities today to find uses of your music than ever before. And again, it's because of technology.
Yeah.
But realistically, instead of trying to go out and win the lottery,
Oh, God.
why don't you try to go out to a local film school out of college where the students have to, or whatever, they've got to put an independent film together.
Yeah.
And by God, you happen to have the music that's given to them. How everything begins. We begin with small steps, not trying to go to Warner Brothers in the middle of the 13th Superman film being filmed and asking on the soundtrack. Ridiculous. Oh, and look at Netflix has done. And look what Amazon is doing with their instant player. And on it goes. Everybody is now making more and more entertainment products or documentaries. Great news. If you work your way into that, then you can have deals for your song being used, getting compensated with the help of an attorney's contract, to help you negotiate your way through the storms of that relationship. But I guess, it's a hard thing to talk about because it's legal stuff. If Bart was sitting next to me here, he'd have a hell of a lot to say.
Right.
The author of the book. And because he goes into one chapter is about 40 pages long, believe it or not, all about licensing. And not only just licensing, but foreign licensing deals. Just because you're in the States doesn't mean you can't, if you own your own copyrights, why you can't do some business overseas, Italy, Ireland, Scotland, wherever you go, England,
Yeah.
It's a broader base than but, we've touched on many things here in our chat.
Yeah.
But people can tend, I'm going to go do that. Oh, and he also mentioned this, I want to go do that too. And we got to kind of settle down. We got to take a deep breath.
Yeah.
And then go back to that question I had in the beginning. How much time do you have in the day when you're done working, when you're done being a mom or dad? How much time do you have to devote to your music and the promotion, the making of it, etc.? 3 hours? 4 hours? And then, compare someone who's got just for the sake of being silly, a rich uncle who says, here's $500,000, go establish yourself, and go off and do all these things. Well, those people who are maybe, in some people's eyes, fortunate to get that kind of access to money, in a way, are missing out on a lot. There's an old saying about it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah.
And in your life, maybe in my life, it's been nothing but a musical journey.
Yeah.
And I love that. Every moment of it, getting to meet a famous artist or helping someone who was nobody, like good Lord, back in, when I was doing radio in the 80s, being able to be the first to play the Sex Pistols and the Ramones. Well, they remember that, even though they're dead. I remember it. My friends remember it. We have pictures of wonderful days. And every era needs a new batch of new artists. They're not going to go back to listen to mom and dad's music. So, if anything is going on now, there's, I can work this into an exercise if you want. It's real easy. Keep your eye on, you don't have to watch the whole shows, but either record or keep your eye on Jay Leno, Letterman, and especially Jimmy Fallon, who's the future pro and the other two. And look at the names of the guests that end the show, the musical acts that ends the show. Just write them down. Then over the course of 6 months, go back and look at it. How many of those are gone? How many of those bands, the record label got them the deal? Yeah, man, you're going to be on Jimmy Fallon, man. Cool, play with the Roots. Whatever. And then you look 6, 7, 8 months later, and where are they? That's the saddest thing to me about today's challenge.
Yeah.
Is everything is moving so much faster. I'm just thinking of one band, that I saw a year ago on not only Jay Leno, but also they were on Jimmy Fallon. There was a band called the Ting Tings. Are they still around? I don't know.
I don't even know.
Like a girl with a drum and another guy with a drum. They were kind of cool.
Yeah.
But whatever happened to the Ting Tings? I hope they're successful. I hope they're still around doing gigs. I have just not seen them anywhere. So it's just one tiny example.
Yeah.
Just because you see somebody on TV, it doesn't equate to they're multimillionaires and they're rich and famous forever.
It's true.
Yeah,
I just have a couple of questions left. One of the concepts that I've started exploring is what I call music entrepreneurship. Obviously, that could probably bring a few different things to mind, but I guess the one way I see that playing out is, musicians exploring perhaps building a business or an asset outside of what they do to ultimately just fund their music career and not have to worry about, who's got control of it and how much time or money they have to spend on it. They could actually, do what they want to do. So do you think that's a possibility? Is there room for that?
It's a money management issue. And what I mean by that is this. Another client I had in this area, her name's Tina Lear. She lives in New York these days. And she was a singer-songwriter and did well here and wanted to move to New York. And she'd gotten involved with writing musicals for younger people. And she hooked into this whole network she didn't even know existed of people that want to write music for children's musicals. I didn't know there was such a thing, because she was just a singer-songwriter and a good one. And that's what she does now, That's what she does from after maybe 10, 15 years of being a solo artist. She found she had this gift for songwriting for a different type of genre altogether. And she doesn't even have to sing all of her songs. The people in the who are hired to be the actors, etc., sing them. So that's sort of one example of how stuff can happen that you don't expect to. A strange one for me was, I'll never forget this one. I spent, at least 2-3 hours with this gentleman. He was from Brazil. And he had this amazing thing that, real quickly, in South America, flamenco music is a big deal. And he had gotten a hold and researched. He loved flamenco music. And he found out that back in the way past, in the 30s, flamenco music was not instrumental music, it was vocal music. And he found some old-timers, and he started recording these people. And over time, when he came to me, he had over 20 albums of, vocal flamenco music sung by the originators of it back a long time ago. And he didn't know what to do. He didn't have any connections in the music business. And we talked, and he was putting on his coat, his chat. And I finally said to him, excuse me, but I haven't even asked you, how do you pay your bill? What do you do for a living? And he said to me, he says, I own a company that makes all the ballet slippers, ballet shoes for ballet dancers. I make them for all the different ballet companies.
There you go.
And my jaw dropped. And I said, you just told me you didn't know anybody in the music industry, in the entertainment industry. And he looked it up and he thought, oh, yeah, right. And he knew all these owners of all the bookers of these big performance halls in Europe and all across the United States, and it completely was blind to him what his skill was, one of them. And that it could be translated from making ballet shoes to actually saying, by the way, I also have this flamenco music, and now he tours with a full band. They do full flamenco music, all based on something that was a complete accident.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever know where the surprise is going to come from. We're such a country that wants to plan everything, you know? What are you going to do when you get out of school, guy? What are you going to do when you graduate? All this pressure when the arts don't work that way, you know? You know? I have a brother who was a wood carver, you know, for 20-odd years. And it took him, you know, those 20 years till he met someone that really appreciated his gift and then started, you know, bought things on what they call it by request, you know, would you carve this, would you carve that, you know?
Yeah.
But he certainly never thought it would come from an area he hadn't thought of. So that's true with a lot of musicians, you know? We get locked up into our own domain. This is the music business, and it works like this, and I'm a robot, and I'll do this. No, you know, cool out, you know, have some fun with it. Yes, be serious, and don't let people exploit you. Of course not. But also have fun with it. My God, that's what it's really all about. You know, the joy your music brings to people, right?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, those are great examples. Here's your chance to rant and rave as you please. Are there any other questions I should have asked?
Well, obviously, if it's, you know, for shameless self-promotion, the 4th edition of the book we've been hitting at, called Music is Your Business, now on Amazon.com. It is called Music is Your Business, the 4th edition. Make sure it's the 4th edition. And it's 100 pages more for you to know about than there was in the previous edition, which didn't even mention Twitter or social networking because it didn't exist then. So there's a lot of changes we put into it that I think people would appreciate knowing or saying, oh, I didn't know that, you know.
Yeah.
You'll have a few light bulbs turned on.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a link to that in the show notes as well. What's the best place for people to find you on the web?
The best way is just to go to FourFrontMusic.com, spelled FourFront, like the number 4, FourFrontMusic.com. And you can email me at, guess what, Chris, CHRIS, at FourFrontMusic.com.
Perfect.
If I hear from you, I'll write back to you.
Excellent. Well, I'll definitely...
Well, I want to thank you for what you're doing. It's been a while now since you've been doing this podcast, right?
That is true, yeah. I started it back in the summer of 2009. So it's definitely...
Well, I thank you for doing it because the more you do it, the more people tune in, and the more people get educated by whoever your guest is, hopefully. You know?
Well, that's...
They're paying attention.
That's definitely the idea. I want to educate the listeners and bring them some great experts. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you very much, you know, for inviting me and to be on the program. I really appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
I hope I answered some questions. I know I evaded some, but that's all right.
Excellent.
All right.
Thanks again.
You take care.
You too.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I'm back with today's closing segment. Well, guess what? Today is moving day for me. And so you're probably wondering, DA, what are you doing recording a podcast on moving day? And actually, I've been doing what I call the slight edge move, which is basically a little bit every day. And today, really all that's left, although there are a few other odds and ends here, is basically furniture. So I'm going to be moving kind of the larger furniture pieces today. But as far as a lot of the boxed items and smaller stuff goes, I've actually already moved it over to the new place. And so I think this is going to be, hopefully, a move that's a lot less stressful than the last one. And as you might remember, I had to tear down my studio and my desk and everything else to go along with that. So it was a much more involved move, I think, than this one's going to be. And of course, it helps that I've sold and purged and given away a lot of stuff. You'll be able to find the show notes for this episode at DAWCast.com/episode 40. Don't forget to leave a comment. And I'm still in the process of moving the site over from daw-music.com to DAWCast.com. So this episode may not actually appear in the feed for a little while because I'm still in the process of updating the feed. And working on the code on the website so it displays everything correctly. Anna and I have actually accumulated quite a few topics to talk about in subsequent episodes, so hopefully her and I can get together here soon and kind of update you with everything that's been going on for episode 41 or 42 here in December. And it would be cool to get onto a little more of a regular schedule. Obviously, with moving and everything else, time just hasn't really permitted it, but looking forward, it'd be great to be able to do that. In any case, I'll talk to you again soon. You've been listening to the David Andrew Wiebe Interviews and Music Business Podcast, broadcasting from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. This has been a Red Flame production. To learn more about Red Flame, go to redflamerecords.com.